At this point, you've learned a lot. We've looked at conditional statements. We just saw the various forms they can come in. We know how to do various things with those conditional statements. We can restate them as a contrapositive. If we have some more information, we can make modus ponens and modus tollens inferences when those triggers are present. And we know how to link conditional rules together. I just wanted to pause in this lesson for a reorientation moment where we connect this back to deductive reasoning in general. And we're going to look at some full arguments in natural language, like you might see on the actual LSAT. So the first thing I want to point out, what is an inference? Well, an inference is the conclusion, or at least one conclusion, of a deductive argument, right? So here we have a typical argument which has a conditional statement to start with. No hikers are allowed to summit if the wind speed is above 40 miles an hour. Then we have an additional piece of information here. And then finally, the conclusion, which, as we'll see in a moment, is a valid deductive inference from the two premises. So let's pull out the parts of this argument here. The first premise that we have is a conditional statement. No hikers are allowed to summit if the wind speed is above 40 miles per hour. We might have an easier time if we get that into the if-then form that we're more used to. So I added that on here. No hikers are allowed to summit if the wind speed is above 40 miles an hour. That can translate into an if-then statement. If wind speed above 40 miles per hour, then no hikers allowed to the summit. In that case, we can just get that into a diagram. Wind speed above 40, then hikers cannot summit. Then we bring in our next premise. The wind speed is above 40 miles per hour. Those of you who are paying close attention might notice that that acts as a trigger for this rule up here. And then we can make the modus ponens inference that no hikers are allowed to summit today. So then, through deductively valid inference, we have arrived at this conclusion right here that no hikers will be allowed to summit. It's right here in the diagram form. So this was a full argument, a full deductive argument in natural language. And the conclusion is an inference, a valid deductive inference from the premises. So again, you can see that structure of premises and conclusions that you now learned a while back. In the text of this lesson, we'll give you more chances to work with these natural language arguments, and it'll give you a moment of orientation to see where we're at as far as learning about argument structure, specifically deductive argument structure.